starting off on our backs and getting into our breath. And I've set myself up with a bolster with a block under the end of it. It really makes it easy to breathe there, sometimes easier than just being flat on the mat. You could also set a little towel or rolled up blanket like I have there under kind of your rib cage. Just sometimes having the head or the ribs a little elevated makes it easier to breathe. So when you're ready, come down into your position. And we're going to be doing something called a box breath. And I wanted to add this to our toolbox of pranayama or breath work because it's one that you can do anywhere, even in public, and most people wouldn't know that you're doing it, but that sends an immediate message to the nervous system of well-being. So take a few moments, get settled, turn your gaze up and in, third eye point, lightly connect the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. If you'd like to add ujjayi, our little throat contraction to create that great sounding breath, go for it. If that's just sort of tension building, leave it out. We want to be super, super relaxed during this breath. To that end, I'm going to provide a little lower back support by keeping my knees bent. So that's one option. You could also let those legs go out nice and wide as a beautiful counter shape to perhaps having been seated a lot, as a lot of people do during the day. So check in that the body feels supported and in ease. And then as you're ready, begin your box breath, which is inhaling to the count of 4, and then holding in to the count of 4. Exhaling slowly over the count of 4 and holding out for the count of 4. And I'll talk through that a couple more times. You can ignore me and go to your own rhythm if you'd like. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Holding in, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling out, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 2, 3, 4. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Holding in, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4. Holding out, 2, 3, 4. Please continue at your rhythm. If you can make it slower than that, marvelous. But we don't want to make it where we're at the end of that holding of the breath and we kind of have to suck the breath in or dump it. So make it very easy, kind of underplay the edge. Really tune into your own breath sound, the sound of your own life force, chi or prana. You can also tune into all the places that you're feeling breath. Front body, but also back and side bodies. Notice if the mind wanders. It does, it will, it's a monkey mind. And let's just bring it back firmly again to our breath counting. Let's do a couple more rounds. Again, making your count of 4 as short or long as you need to so that it's perhaps longer than your regular breath would be, but still very relaxing, no effort, no goal. Last round. And then when that's complete, let's come into sighing breaths. Inhaling slow, deep, and wide through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And it might come out in just a soft kind of or and they're all great. What I like noticing is that if I have been just sort of in a hurry or stressed, even if it's been kind of a hurry for excitement reason, not fear or freaking out, that often there is that kind of whooshing or that need to move that out. And then I very quickly find myself more relaxed and that my breath is softer too. Our breath is our quickest link to our nervous system. So as we continue with breath attention, but we move into poses, especially some of the flow that we're doing today, please keep your attention on breath, return to it, and if you feel like you've lost your ability to breathe slowly and deeply, go into a resting pose. It could even just be pausing and standing in Tadasana or a mountain, and then continue with us when you're ready. All right, coming off your object of support and just coming flat on the back, then knees bent right beneath, feet beneath, and we're going to anchor our upper arms. We're going to do a very slow in and out of bridge pose. Inhaling, slow, deep and wide. Is there more? Exhaling, pressing the hips up. Is there more? Inhaling, come down as slowly as you can. You can relax a little at the very end of that if you'd like, and then exhaling, pressing up again towards bridge. As you continue this practice, try to stay soft in your neck. Keep that nice thigh engagement, moving the thighs towards each other as if you were squeezing a block there. We're doing some great stuff today to wake up our back body that gets really overstretched and tight and weak all at the same time. So this is our first place where we're waking up the hamstrings and the butt muscles. And if this feels like too much, remember, just don't come as high. Slow, slow descent with that inhale. Is there more? And pressing up to bridge now, hold. Encouraging the hands on the hip bones for just an awareness tool as we slowly lift one foot at a time, hovering or extending the leg if you feel up for it today. And again, we're moving very slowly. We're still breathing and we're noticing, is one hip dropping? If so, can you stabilize it? Do you feel different sensations in the hamstring or butt from right to left? Can you stay soft in the neck? It's difficult here, so it really requires us to invite over and over again the neck to let go. Soft tongue, soft gaze. Make sure you finish with the left if you started with the right, and come on down, knees to belly. Just rocking, enjoying, exploring. We're going to come into spinal twist. We'll be doing other more active twists later. I'm going to bring us into embryo pose, so just bringing my knees down to the left. And after you've taken a moment to just explore the space around you with that back hand and arm kind of sweeping and moving, I want to invite you to have it sort of mostly straight out behind you and witness how breath moves your body here. We'll do 3 or 4 full breaths, inhaling, making it so big and greedy in the body that the arm kind of lifts off of the floor or away from it, and then as it exhales, we move towards the floor. Letting breath initiate the movement. And ideally, this would be our whole practice, breath moving our body through space and initiating the flow. As you're ready, let's explore the other side. Knees coming to the right in embryo pose. I've got my knees a little higher than my hips, so it actually makes it easy to kind of anchor with my right hand, but you can do it however you would like. And with that arm straight out behind, exploring breath. Again, you can do some nice range of motions first with the shoulder, and then settle into breath witnessing. Is this side different flexibility, different location of stretch? Couple more. Asking of this last inhale, is there more? Can you get a little extra? And then slowly back to center. Nice. Little knees to belly again. Roll out those ankles and then go ahead and clasp either the ankles, or if you can get all the way to the foot for happy baby, the blade, or I like bringing the middle and index finger between the toes and drawing down. Anchoring the shoulders. Powerfully draw the knees towards the yoga mat to the outside of your ribs. And guide breath into the belly. And then guiding the feet together in butterfly. You can do, of course, just hanging out here, or that addition of the little windshield wiper, as we sometimes call it. Another nice position here is to press your knees away from you, just using the muscles of the hips and thighs. Sometimes there I like spreading the feet as well. I get an extra little stretch through the inner and back of my legs. And then let's straighten those legs out to straddle. Nice heel flex. If that's too much, remember, just bend the knees or come into half straddle where you're exploring just one straight leg at a time. And if holding the legs up is just making a lot of tension in the hip flexors there, then bring them down into a nice wide stance, like a horse riding stance as we call it. We're going to do a little yoga sit-ups here. Now you could have your hands behind your head for support, and if your neck is at all tight already, I would definitely start there. Otherwise, excuse me, you can also play with pressing the hands through that V in the legs. Let's start with breath. Inhaling, slow, deep and wide. Is there more? Again, feel it in the back body. Exhale, connect your core towards the earth, and then pressing the hands through the V of the legs. Always releasing on the inhale. Exhaling and pressing. With or without the hands, totally up to you. Again, we want to find a place where we can breathe and we can keep our neck in ease. Inhaling, slow, deep and wide. Exhaling, push that scale into the earth and press. The further you press down through the core, the more the upper back will release from the floor. See if you can find that last little engagement. And one more round. Big inhale. And release. Nice. Knees to belly. We're going to do a robot this evening, and I want to do kind of a round of it that is just a little less intense so that you can really notice what's happening in your breath and your neck. And then if you want to make it bigger, go for it. So we're going to take the legs parallel but not touching, feet flexed. Inhale, exhale, power down through your back and then send the knees away from you until they're right over the hips. Now just try breathing here. It's a challenge to breathe and be powering down, but this is the place we want to get to. All right, another long inhale. Exhale, power down and slowly take one heel just a little towards the floor and then hold. Can you breathe while holding here? If you'd like to add the arm, it's opposite arm reaching for the wall behind you. Nice long inhale, exhale, come on back to your starting position. Inhaling in neutral always, And then exhaling, take your other heel a little away. Check that you're not losing that powering down. If you want to add the arm, reaching behind you, and breathe. I like adding ujjayi here as it really helps me get that core to participate the whole time. One more long inhale, and then exhale. Come on back. Right. Take a little break if you want, roll out ankles, and we'll do one more round, deepening the range of motion here, intensifying the work if you want to. Inhaling neutral, exhaling anchoring, taking one heel and opposite arm as far in the journey as you can while staying rooted. Hold for the inhale, what I call in-flight. Exhale, come on back. All right, last side, big inhale. I hope you're feeling this heat. Powering down on that exhale and extending those limbs. Remember, the knees stay bent 90 degrees. We're just hinging at our hip. Breathe in flight. Maybe you can smile a little bit. Exhaling, come on back. Woo, nice work. All right, we're gonna spinal rock up to hands and knees, or however you'd like to get there. Intelligent hands, we're gonna come right into cow-cat. Inhaling, drawing the heart forward. And exhaling, tucking the tailbone into our cat back. Again, breath initiating motion. Asking, is there more? When you come into your inhale, try to keep the neck as peaceful as possible. So your eyes are maybe just trying to see a couple feet in front of the mat, not looking forward. Let's use this final cat back here to take us into our first downward facing dog. Curl the toes under, powerful cat back, and core sends us up and back. Knees bent initially, maybe forever. And then play with pedaling, pressing one heel towards the floor and the other. This is a great chance to get a stretch into that back body that, again, I mentioned can be tight and weak. And then releasing to your table pose. Roll out wrists anytime if you need to. Remember, you can also go to fists if your wrists are getting too much action. I'm going to take the right leg back, straight back. Check that you don't collapse in your core. And we're going to do a little quick twitch motion here, kicking our heel towards our butt essentially. So I'm straightening the leg and then bending it fast. Straightening and bending. Breathing, slow, deep and wide. That's a challenge, right? You could try your box breath again if you wanted to have a little extra fun. All right, let's try the other side. Straight back. So a great chance to notice if this side is different. And if this bothers your knees or anything else, do a slower version. Underdo the motion, don't go as far. We're always curious, how can I do this in a way that has only benefit and never any harm? Couple more. Does this side feel different? And release. We're going to now take the foot out to the side. So your right foot out directly to the side like so. And then I want you to just slide the hips back towards the heel a little bit and then forward. And you're just exploring the stretch. Now, see if you can take that right foot further forward. You're just sliding it further towards the front of the mat. And then flex the heel and sit back into that. If you wanted to do a standing version of this instead of being on the knee, that would always be an option too. And then taking that knee on back to starting position. Left foot out, straight out from the body to the left, and sliding back and forward through the hips. try to be in your core. So there's really very little weight in the wrists and hands. They're kind of there stabilizing, but you're not leaning on them. And now sliding that foot forward and flexing the heel and sit on back. Is this side different? Whenever we ask a question about the body, to the body, bringing us into sensation, it's a really great way of becoming more body focused, more introverted, and in the moment. And bring it on back. Nice. We're going to come into pigeon pose. So I'm just going to bring that right knee forward. And if this bothers your knee, of course, do recline pigeon on the back. Otherwise, I want to invite you to stay here with your hip bones straight towards the floor if you can. We're going to do a little add-on in a moment. But first I'm coming down to my forearms and just kind of getting gooey, wiggling a little left and a little right. Enjoying, I hope, some stretch into the, not only the back of the butt here and that piriformis and so on, but a lot of us should feel this also in our thigh. All kind of the whole circumference really could be getting a stretch. So I'm going to come up onto my hands now, elbows bent, shoulders down, so I'm not kind of forcing my body into too deep of a back bend. Curl your back foot under and kind of pulse, straightening the leg, pressing the thigh bone towards the sky, and then kind of relaxing it. And do that a few times. This is really great for waking up that quadricep right there at the front, really getting that knee straight. Good. Now traction. It's as if I'm trying to use my front leg to pull the yoga mat shorter. Holding that tractioning, and just see if you can walk your fingers back a little bit and maybe even lift them. And if you can't, don't worry about it. You're going to be getting plenty of strengthening just from trying. If you're able to release them, you could take them into a little jet airplane here. Deep breath, again, more power in that back leg. And come on out. Whew. Well, if you're like me, you'll feel this tomorrow or the next day. But again, that's a great sign. We've woken some things up. All right, plant those hands. Nice long inhale. Exhale, released either to table or to dog. And take that right leg flying. Give it a little donkey kick. Maybe a rotation through the knee. Good. Inhaling, slowly come forward into your plank. Pause. Nice core support. Exhale takes you back to downward facing dog. Let's do that twice more. If this is too much, come on to forearms instead of wrists. Breathing, initiating the motion. And then on your next inhale, bring that left knee forward. Let's pause and come on down. Again, you might be flipping to your back body if your joints request it. Is this side different? What can you know here? And then we'll explore the strengthening part of this pose. So coming on up onto palms, curl the back foot under, and pulse, straightening the leg, and relaxing it, and straightening, and relaxing. Good, and then as you're ready, hold it in that engaged position if you can, and begin that tractioning as if pulling that left leg back, but you're not. You're just squeezing, and it kind of lifts the body up a little bit. Yeah. And then you're going to see if, again, you can walk those hands towards you and maybe even release into your jet airplane. Observe if it's considerably different on one side or not. For me, it used to be, and I've done a lot of balancing and stabilizing, so it's a great sign that my body's becoming a little more equal side to side in its strength. When you're done, come on out. Slowly releasing either to table or to downward facing dog, and give that left leg some movement. Nice. I'm going to take the feet nice and wide, Bend those knees deeply. We like to call this bear. You got it. And then as you're ready, I'm going to have you bring that right foot forward to the outside of the right hand, nice and wide. You got it. Then see if you can come down onto your left forearm. If you can't, don't worry about it. If you can, then you might explore also, can you come down to your right forearm? Now for some of us, if we go too far, like I can put both forearms down, but then maybe my body goes into protection. I don't want to do that. Maybe you can't do either forearm, in which case just bend your elbows and imagine you're wanting to kiss the earth. When you feel complete, nice breath, and step back. You can even add sighing breaths on our releases. It can feel so good. Bring that left foot forward outside of the left hand. Maybe you're just pulsing and bending the elbows, or coming down onto the right forearm, maybe the left also. Check that that back leg's still super active. Breathing, breath, lifting and settling us. And as you're ready, release, step back. We're going to come all the way to the belly. So if it's your kind of first time doing dog series, I would inhale to your plank on your knees. Exhale, chaturanga, bend the elbows. And remember, it might just be a little bend like so, and then you can drop, or you can slowly lower yourself. Planting the hands for cobra, anchor the pelvis, and inhale, draw forward. Exhale, release. We're going to stay here. Inhale, draw forward through the heart. Exhale, release. A few more exploring. Remember, in cobra, we want to keep the pelvis anchored the whole time. So I'm never straightening the arms and bringing the pelvis off. That's more of a knee down, upward dog. Anchor that pelvis and draw the heart. You got it. One more. And exhale, press back. Either child's pose, or if you're craving it, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's always been one of my favorite Sanskrit names for pose. Nice resting breath. So even if you're in downward dog, slow, deep and wide, settle the breath. Okay, we're going to return to some flow, and we'll be coming into some warrior series. So if you know that coming from downward dog is difficult for your body, then just come to the front of the mat and step back into your crescent lunge. Otherwise, right here, downward facing dog, right leg flying. Pause a moment. You might bend that right knee again. We've got some nice action going on in that hamstring. And then open the right hip up. Breathe, notice. Stay really engaged through that lower belly robot core. Exhale slowly forward through that right foot. Now plant your left foot at a nice little angle there, warrior one. Steer the hip bones back and come on up. If you prefer crescent lunge, then you're on the ball of the back foot. Notice where your arms would feel good. And sometimes it's in movement, right? So you can do some slicing if you crave that. Otherwise, holding. 3 steady breaths. On the exhale, see if you can get your hips to go a little more forward. Just allowing. One more long inhale. You might add a little back bend. Exhaling, open Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So thighs are externally rotating. Check that knees right over the foot. We don't want it tracking to the inside. And what's your version, right? A lot of us have done these poses so many times, and if we let our body inspire us, we'll find like, oh, this is the hand position that I need. I need palms up, or gosh, I want to be rotating, or I want to look behind me. I want to pulse and come back up. Couple more steady breaths. While you're there, think about not only kind of pushing into the mat, but also tractioning, drawing towards yourself with your feet. And you should feel some nice invigoration through that inner leg and even the pelvic floor. On your next long inhale, reach up, straightening that leg. And exhale, we're going to cartwheel it out to downward facing dog. So planting both hands and step back, or however you want to get there. We're going to take our feet out wide into our bear pose again. This time I'm going to offer to see if you can lift that right foot very slowly. So you're not just swinging it. It requires a lot more core support there. Good. Now inhaling, open through that right arm. Nice spinal twist. You got it. Exhaling, return it. And now come down to your left forearm if you can. Otherwise, you're just bending both elbows. Okay, let's do that one more time. Both palms, inhale, open to the right with that right arm and right body. So we're doing the same thing, same side. Return, come on down to your left forearm. Try to kiss the earth. Now, we're going to plant that back foot like we did in Warrior One. Okay, so you're letting it come down flat. If this is too much, then you're up here. You'll just bring your knee up to your thigh. Otherwise, right here, inhale and open through the left side. Exhale, release, downward facing dog. What would your body like right now? Holding dog, finding a resting state here, moving to child's pose, or coming into another round of dog series. Inhaling to your plank. Exhaling your version of chaturanga. You might also inhale cobra, or this time come onto the feet for upward facing dog. It's an option. Exhaling, downward facing dog. We're going to start our warrior flow here, and so if you prefer, you'd come from mountain at the front of the mat. Otherwise, left leg slowly flying. Give that heel a kick towards the butt. Hello, hamstring. Hold it bent and open that left hip if you can. I'm really using my right butt cheek here to press towards the left edge of the mat. And slowly bring that left foot forward. Plant that right foot flat for Warrior One or on the ball for Crescent Lunge. And come on up. Settling. Finding your edge. So in our entire warrior series, we really want to feel stable and strong and peaceful. Make sure you're connecting through the inner line of that front foot. So if you feel that you're kind of wobbling at all, because it is a balancing pose, you'll want to connect that inner line. Use that inner leg to power down. Let's enjoy one more long inhale. Exhale, opening Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Back leg is powerfully straight, and we're checking that front knee heel alignment. What's your arm position now on this side? What feels right? We know that left palm open is our receiving hand. A wonderful place to invite supportive energies, ideas, inspirations. One more breath. Let the breath move you in space. Inhaling, root and rise up. And exhaling, slowly cartwheel it out. Downward facing dog. Does not have to be in one smooth motion. We're going to take it to our bear stance with those feet a little bit wide. And as you're ready, nice slow movement. Bring that left foot to the outside of the left hand. You got it. Inhale, opening left arm. Exhale, return it, and come down to your right forearm as if you wanted to kiss the earth. Again, you don't have to come down that far. Return to the hand and inhale, open left side again. Check that that back leg is staying super active. Come down to the right forearm and kiss the earth. Breathing. Return to your hand, pause, plant that back foot, And inhaling, open to the right. Again, if this is not appropriate in your body, you can't, get your butt aligned, then come up higher into our regular lateral stretch stance. And slowly release. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Nice. We're going to come onto our butt, so you might bring one knee forward and then the other to get there, or you might get there a different way. We want to be on our sits bones. I'm going to take our legs wide here because I want to keep from our hip flexors getting too tightened up, but this is a great pose to also strengthen through there and to use our core. So finding a nice long spine, it's as if you're broadening your heart to the wall in front of you. And then with the hands either on the front of the knees or the knee pits, see if you can raise those feet so they're kind of straight out in front of you. And maybe not, maybe they're down here, that's plenty. We're more concerned with that straight spine, that open heart, the breath. I hope you're quivering at least a little bit. See if you got one more moment here. And release. Cross the legs, and we're going to step back into forearm plank. So kind of a fun way to get there, if it works for you, is to roll forward, come onto the forearms, and step back one leg at a time. Pause. If this is not feeling great in your back, you might release to knees. For sure, tuck the tailbone. If you're feeling pretty good, no pain or discomfort, and you're ready to just make it a little more intense, extend your crown and heart away from the heels until it brings you into more of a neutral spinal curve versus a hyper tuck, so that you feel a little bit of that natural low back arch. But you still feel really strong in the core, I hope. And if you're not getting a quiver, walk those elbows forward. Folks, see if you can do 3 more breaths here, right inside of the intensity. Ujjayi. And release. Turn your head to the side and soften. Relaxing is often one of the most difficult things for many of us. And that's one of the reasons I really appreciate an intense pose that kind of wears us out a little bit. Is all of a sudden we're like, and we can just give in to gravity. Notice your heart rate, notice your heat. When you are ready to move, and it may not be now, we're going to come into our jet airplane arms, actually working our locust pose here. So power down through the glutes, shoulder heads anchor down the back, and then notice for most of us our hands need to be out a little bit. Mine are off the mat in order to be comfortable through the chest and shoulders. So there's no intention to bring the hands in, but I do want to squeeze in my upper arms. As you're ready, inhaling, extend, and exhaling, return. So as you continue letting breath initiate your motion, what's the perfect version of this for you today? Is it just extending through the spine? Do you also want to add hands reaching for the wall behind? Do you want to add the legs reaching for the wall behind? Remember, it's not the goal to lift up. See if you've got one more in there. And exhaling, release, resting your head to the other side. Take a few more breaths here, really seeing how deeply you can settle. Can you pretend that you're never going anywhere again? When you are ready to move on, we're going to come into that marvelous stretch through the quadriceps. If you're on your belly and you're loving it there, then you would just clasp one ankle at a time, eventually getting both to come into your bow pose. Otherwise, you could join me in a standing version of the quad stretch where we just do one at a time. It can help to have something to touch for balance if you'd like. but sometimes this is a little easier also for your knees, shoulders, and so on, and low back. So just kind of up to you. If you're doing the standing version, you have to be really careful that once you've grabbed your ankle, that you return upright. We don't want to be hinged forward at all. In both versions of the pose, you've got your pelvis pressing forward. That's what's going to protect that low back. And you want to keep your knees towards each other, not to touch, just so that they're in the same neutral position that you started with before you tried to grab your ankle. Maybe you're standing, extending one arm. If you've got both ankles and you're on your belly, start pulsing with breath. So inhaling, press the ankles back into your hands for bow. Exhaling, soften. If you're doing the standing version and you want to just briefly extend into a little bit of a standing dancer, I don't recommend a big one because for a lot of people it just kind of bugs their back. Standing, make sure you switch because we got to get both sides. Make sure those glutes are engaged. And then releasing. If you're standing, just go into ragdoll. If you've been on your belly, press back child's pose. Deep breath here, folks, right into that low back. And we are going to meet standing. So when you are ready, find your journey upright. We're going to come into our train tracks pose, and we're going to add a little quick twitch muscle practice here as well. So first, train tracks themselves. Starting off in your mountain stance, feet parallel. Step back the right foot as if you were trying to just keep it in that train track, and then set the heel down in the track, best you can. Pause, look underneath. Most of us will have to turn the heel further out for it to actually be straight, and hold here. Now you might have your arms in jet airplane. You can keep them on the hips for balance. You could raise them up to get a little more of that stretch through the lower abdomen. If you're not getting much of a stretch at all, try scooching that front foot forward, and you're kind of scissoring the thighs. Again, I want my weight on the inner foot. One more deep breath like this, and then bring the hands to the hips, and when you're ready, I want you to quick twitch, bring that right heel towards the butt, just like we did in our table work earlier. Boom, boom. And you can make it just even more intense by trying to set your foot back down in the track. It may or may not work. Let's do one more, and release to our mountain. Let's step back through that left foot. Pause, intend to lay the heel in the track. Look underneath. Adjust. This is another pose that really changed for me along with that kind of activated pigeon, that my body became progressively more even right to left when it hadn't been at all. So this pose is very useful for showing you what's out of kilter with each other, but also resolving it. Nice deep breath into the belly, and maybe the arms are up. And when you are ready, joining in that fast twitch action, shifting your weight to the right foot so you can kick the left heel to the butt. And kick. Again, if this is just too much, then just do a nice slow movement, right? Last time. And return. Good. Let's take our feet nice and wide in our straddle and start going side to side. You can add some nice reaching through the arms too when you're ready, but make sure before you go there that you've got the lower body sorted out, right? That your knees are happy, your ankles are happy, the feet are wide enough to be getting some good leg work. And I can feel as I start reaching side to side, all this core muscle coming into action. And you could be breathing slow, deep, and wide. Sometimes it's also nice to just do a big through the mouth Nice energy release. A few more. See if you can get lower, like you're picking something up off of the ground. And then hold to one side. Again, you might be up high on the thigh. Either way, that other leg is straight but not hyperextended. So make sure the weight isn't in the heel, it's in the whole foot. Let breath move you. And slowly to the other side. Is this side different? Committing to deep inhales. And that wonderful release that comes with the exhale. Now bringing the legs straight if you can, otherwise have them bent. And I want you to just see if you can cross your left hand to the outside of your right shin. I've got my right hand on my right hip for now as I'm feeling that. I can feel some of the stretch in the left leg as I do that. So it doesn't matter which one you do first, just opposites. You're crossing one hand to the outside of that other leg, shin, etc. And then when you're ready, if you can, opening that top arm. You don't have to look at it, but you can if it feels yummy. And slowly switch. Clasping around the other leg with the opposite arm. Hand on the hip initially so that as I begin to rotate and twist through my torso, I can feel that stretch coming into the other leg. Then I might add the arm, etc. You can also just keep the hand on the hip, and sometimes that's a better shoulder opener. And slowly releasing. Now slowly walk your hands to the front of your mat. Pause. Take a nice long inhale. Exhale, try to lift that front foot and send it flying in downward facing dog. Hold here. We're going to do a little more core work. If this is too much, do it in table. Exhaling, you're going to cross your knee to your opposite elbow and then return to your dog. Go ahead and do that a couple of times. Nice. And bring that foot back to downward dog. Whew. Beautiful work. All right, we're going to take the other leg flying. Exhaling, slowly cross it to your opposite elbow. So as we're doing this in and out a few times, we want to make sure that the core is really rounding and that the elbows are active. I feel strong. And release that foot to your downward dog. All right, invitation for resting or flow. Inhaling plank. Exhaling to your chaturanga. Inhaling to either cobra or upward facing dog. And exhaling to your resting pose. Child's pose or perhaps, again, ragdoll if your knees would prefer that. Nice deep belly breaths. Again, whenever we can bring the breath so fully into our belly that then it moves into the back, we've achieved something really powerful. And again, that breath changes us. It tells our nervous system, I am well, I am whole, I am safe. We're going to once again come to our butt. And so I'm hoping all this core work is just making us so alert here that we won't give it up. So as you're ready, bring your feet into a cross. This is how I've got mine, like so. My legs are kind of out, like almost like you're cross-legged, but the knees are up because you want to be able to hold on. Shoulder heads anchor. And you can kind of use that knee clasp as an invitation to bring the heart forward so that we're not rounded. When you are ready, just see if you can raise the feet off of your mat without giving up your core. And if it becomes too much, release, regain your breath and your alignment. Otherwise, See if you can now release your cross, grab your big toes, or if your body doesn't like that, you could try blades of the feet or ankles, and lifting through that heart, begin to straighten those legs towards straddle. Doesn't matter if you ever get there, by the way. So for those of us when we did this on our back body, if your knees were bent, they're probably going to be bent here too. It doesn't matter, you can still get a great stretch, activating through the heels, drawing the heart. One more deep breath. And release. Good. We're going to come down to our back body for a bridge as a counter pose, and should feel really good to stretch out that front. Have your block handy, by the way, because we're going to also be adding that in a moment. And you've earned it. I hope it'll feel delicious. So as you're ready, coming on into your bridge pose, and you might enjoy just repeating that very slow pulsing that we did at the beginning of practice, where we inhaled and exhaled up, inhaled, slowly descended. Or you might enjoy coming up into your most engaged bridge pose. You can intertwine the hands behind the back yoga mudra. You can extend them along the floor as if you want to connect with your heels. Either way, thighs are squeezing in, knees are pressing away, and we're working our heart towards our chin. If this is bothering your back, drop a little and make sure that those glutes are engaging. You can also play with letting the glutes relax a little bit, and that can be a lovely way to hang out in the pose. So if the back's not bothering you, you can play with that. See if you've got 3 more slow breaths inside the intensity. Is there more? Last breath cycle. And slowly, slowly release. What does your body crave? Usually knees to belly, but there might be something else your body's calling for. Please go there. Then inviting you to simply plant the feet touching and let the knees come out in a passive butterfly. If this doesn't feel good, check and see if sometimes kind of lifting the hips, tucking the tailbone, and resetting feels good, or just relax the legs into corpse pose. Settling into a slower, deeper, wider breath. We try not to lose the kind of bliss breath, as we call it, when we're in our movement and our practice, but it's pretty inevitable that we'll kind of get a little rushed with the breath, and it's so important to return here. When you feel you've mostly settled, let's come into our next supported stretch. This is totally restorative. There's no effort, nothing you're trying to accomplish here. You're going to plant your feet like you do for bridge, lift the hips, and place the block right under the sacral triangle, not in the low back. So for some of us, right here is perfect, staying on the feet. Some of us will explore extending the legs. And there again, you may need to just notice if it feels a little awkward. It might be a matter of just sliding the block a little further down, adjusting your shoulders until you feel that you can stay here, stay breath connected. If the legs are straight, one of the advantages is an opportunity for a stretch right here into that deep psoas muscle. And that can feel incredible. That's the muscle, by the way, that tightens when we are in fight or flight. It's what allows us to either run or punch somebody. So we want it to be strong, but also flexible, responsive. So taking a couple more really deep breaths into whatever version of the pose you are in. And then when you come out from there, you might bring knees to belly. After that, we'll do one more supported restorative posture. I do one or both of these almost every practice for a reason. I feel like our modern bodies that get so curled forward really need these. And especially, by the way, as we get into gardening season, they're both great, but particularly that block under the sacrum. I've had some students say that they started carrying a block out with their gardening equipment and that they would just pause partway through and do this. It's amazing. Just a few moments of this can kind of get rid of that gripping often that we'll feel. So the next position is under the bra strap, and you could use just a rolled up towel for a more gentle experience, or you could use a block. You want the upper edge of the block just down from the wingtips of the shoulder blades. Or you can do what I'm doing here, which is kind of a combo. I like the firmness of the block pressing up on my rib cage, but I'm adding my throw here under the head so that my head isn't tilted so far back that it creates neck tension. You really want a nice curve and elongation of the neck. So yes, dropping back can be great, but you don't want it compressed at the neck skull joinery. Again, if this isn't absolutely comfortable, sometimes just a little tweak makes it great. You can let the shoulder heads just tilt down and back. And let the palms rotate open towards the sky if that feels good. Really come into your breath, attention here. Again, slowing and deepening it, but now in this position that of course offers us a wonderful stretch into the lungs and into the diaphragm. Sometimes our breath is shallow and rushed because of what we're thinking about or where we have our attention. We're stressed. Sometimes it is because our container for breath has become distorted. So if I've gotten so tight through my pectorals and chest muscles and so on from being kind of hunched forward or focused on things, that there's literally less space for the breath to move in and do what it's supposed to do. So it's really valuable. Notice here, in fact, if you are comfortable doing so, take one arm up behind you and kind of pulse it like you're bringing the bicep towards the ear and then away. And this also can help relieve some of this frozen upper body that many of us get. Often the people that I've met who are struggling with anxiety and panic attacks and things, there's almost always an incredible level of tension through the trapezius muscles, pectorals, and there is not belly breath happening. So if we notice that and we can shift those things, we can also often shift those tendencies towards feeling anxious or even panicked. When you're complete, please roll off a little to one side. Don't lift the head directly up, which will just tighten the neck. And then asking you to observe if there's anything that your body is really craving. So, maybe you want another reclined pigeon or reclined pigeon because you did the really active one earlier in our practice, which is great, but can actually make you sore in those muscles that we like to stretch in reclined pigeon. Maybe you'd like another spinal twist. You can go into embryo pose, or maybe you're straightening one leg. And it would be interesting to notice, do you feel more free in the chest itself, in the whole spine? Can you breathe more deeply and let it bob you on the waves of your breath? So we're going to take a few moments exploring. Make sure if you are doing one of those two poses I named, they're double-sided. Make sure you switch sometime soon and get at least 3 or 4 breaths in on the other side. And then considering what will allow you to really settle in, would it be in corpse pose, Shavasana, or would you like to stay in embryo, or perhaps place your feet and lower leg up on a couch or ottoman for a nice little bit of reversal of gravity upon your body. Please take a few moments. You might use a shawl, you might dim the lights. And then as you're ready, in your position, tune in. Once again, turn your vision inward as if trying to gaze behind the center of the forehead. What do you see there? Colors, darkness, points of light? And from that place of inward looking, invite a softening and spreading of the eyes and forehead, the temples, the cheeks, the jaw, the lips, the tongue. Let the tongue get heavy towards the base of the throat. Invite a softening in the scalp. And then particularly bring your attention right here where the neck and skull join, the occipital ridge. And you can also add some little movements, maybe rolling the head a little side to side, depending on the position you're in. With your next few breaths, send softening right there to the base of the skull. And then inviting you to scan your body and notice where you're touching the mat, the earth. And where does your body lift up and away? It's like you're observing a landscape. And then over these coming breaths, let each exhale be an invitation to give more into gravity, into the mat, into the earth, and letting all those lifted spaces just sink down and down and down. Invitation to simply stay here in a very deep, soft, do-nothing state. Or to add one more breath practice, our breath locks. So you're deeply relaxed, and my hope is that you can enjoy kind of a softer version of this than you've had before. So the next time you're exhaling, you simply then hold the breath out. It's just a soft exhale, no compression, and observing the sensations, your heartbeat. When it feels appropriate, inhale and hold in, internal breath lock. And inviting all the parts of your body to melt, soften, spread, tongue, neck, eyebrows. Asking, can I soften around this? And when you've reached your ability to do so, simply let it go. One more round, holding out and holding in. Invitation to bring your palms together and start a vigorous rub back and forth, creating heat, awakening your prana and life force right here, your healing capacity. We all have it. And when you're ready, directing that energy in towards yourself. Now you might place the hands on your chest, your belly, over your eye sockets. You can also just turn them towards you, but keep them off the body surface out into the energy body, maybe 6 to 10 inches out. Totally up to you. Feel free to experiment. You might feel a little heat, a little tingling. And if there's been any part of you, body or mind, spirit, this is an invitation for healing, for wholeness. Stay in this powerful place as long as you can. I'm going to be closing our practice with the singing bowl, and you're welcome to Om if you'd like, or do some sighing breaths. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Thank you so much for being here with me at the mat. Such a pleasure and an honor. I hope you might revisit that box breath in the coming days. It's a good one. Check it out. It'll become more natural as you go. Thanks, folks.